In the dawn of 1565, two great armies met in the heat of battle on a small, barren island in the middle of the Mediterranean. Victory could go either way. Defeat would mean disaster. The war came to be known as the Great Siege of Malta. The defenders were the Knights of the Order of St. John, the last of the Crusaders. The aggressor was the greatest military force the world had ever known, the Ottoman Empire. Two events altered Malta's history dramatically. First, shipbuilders learned to build boats capable of crossing large stretches of open water rather than hugging the coastline. Second, the Knights of the Order of St. John of Jerusalem arrived in 1530. The origins of the Order of St. John of Jerusalem stretch far back into the early stages of Christian history, when pilgrims started traveling to the Holy Lands. For years, the area was stable, and Muslims and Christians lived peacefully side by side. Then Caliph al-Hakim came into power, and he expelled all non-Muslims from the Holy Lands. This led to outright hostility, and the wars that followed were called the Crusades. Adventurers and soldiers from every part of Europe soon arrived to liberate the holy places. The First Crusade was in 1099, and one of the spoils of victory for the Christians was Jerusalem. The local hospital was run by a group of Benedictine monks who had nursed the wounded crusaders. These monks took St. John as their patron and were the founders of the order. By 1291, the Muslims finally expelled the Crusaders, and the knights were forced from their home. For a brief but uneasy period, they were the guests of the King of Cyprus until 1310. Then they took over the poorly defended island of Rhodes, spending the following 200 years there. During its stay in Rhodes, the order was organized along linguistic lines forming auberges, or hostels, for each of the important langues, or tongues. They also elected one of their members to be Grand Master. He reigned as sovereign monarch over the order for life. Their mandate, to return to Jerusalem, eventually led to the loss of Rhodes. For 200 years, the order harassed the Ottomans. In 1521, the young Sultan, Suleiman, assembled a vast army and for months battered the walls of Rhodes. Finally, the knights surrendered. During this era, Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor, was a very powerful man. His empire and those of his allies stretched from Europe to the Americas. If the order wanted a new base in the Mediterranean, he was the man most likely to help. There was no love lost between the order and the emperor, so he benignly offered the order the barren islands of Malta and Gozo. This offer was hardly acceptable to the order after their beloved Rhodes. Grand Master Lil Adam hesitated only slightly before accepting. The order, by now facing disintegration, was desperate for a new home. The Grand Master had little choice. Lil Adam and the main body of the order arrived in Malta from Sicily on October the 26th, 1530. The Ottoman Empire wasn't a naval power in its own right. It relied on a group of pirates called the Barbary Corsairs to give them supremacy on the seas. The admiral of the Corsair fleet was Dragut, a character who was to play an important part in the siege. His master plan to dominate the central Mediterranean was not unsuccessful. Only Malta and Sicily were his stumbling block. Malta's defences had to be improved. The main entrance to the Grand Harbour was undefended on its northern side, so it was decided to build a fort on the tip of Mount Sherbara. This fort would not only command the entrance to Grand Harbour, it would also protect the entrance to Marsamxett Harbour on the northern side. Thus Fort St. Elmo was built. Yet for all that planning, there was no overcoming its weakness. It stood on low ground. From the slopes of Mount Sherbara, it could be dominated by artillery. The second fort was built on Senglea Point to provide cover for the east flank of Fort St. Angelo. The fort was named after St. Michael. Birgu and Senglea were effectively converted into one massive defensive position. To completely seal off the area, a great chain was slung across the narrow neck of water to ward off any seaborne attacks. Enter Grand Master Jean Parisot de la Valette. He was an extraordinary individual. He joined the order when he was 20 and was typical of the driven single-mindedness encouraged by the order. In 1541, he had been captured, and for a year he lived and survived in the terrible world of the galley slave. In 1564, La Valette was 70 years old. In 1564, Suleiman the Magnificent was also 70 years old. His was a life of unparalleled distinction. Known to his countrymen as the lawgiver, he was more commonly referred to as the Magnificent by the people of Europe. Suleiman had reformed and improved the government of Turkey and made her the greatest military state in the world. His empire stretched from Austria to the Persian Gulf and all of the North African coastline. But that wasn't enough for Suleiman. He still wanted to expand. All that stood in his way was a tiny dot in the middle of the Mediterranean. Any dream of further conquest was thwarted by Malta. If Suleiman took it, then Malta's harbours could shelter his fleet, and he would have a base from which to take Sicily and southern Italy. In October 1564, Suleiman summoned his council and announced that preparation should begin for a spring campaign. News of the impending campaign soon reached La Valette. The Grand Master appealed to the Viceroy of Sicily for reinforcements. The Sultan split command of the campaign. He gave command of the army to Mustafa, his foremost general, and command of the navy to Piali, his son-in-law and admiral of the fleet. Sensing the probability of a power struggle, the Sultan suggested they include Dragut Rais in their council. In April, the Turkish fleet left Constantinople. It was an impressive sight. 190 vessels, including 138 galleys, reinforced by pirate ships from Algiers and Tripoli. Conservative estimates at the number of Turkish troops was 30,000. The Ottoman Armada arrived on Friday, May the 18th, 1565. The fleet first halted off Marsaxlok, but soon moved on to Imjar Bay. Because of this maneuver, the Maltese concluded that the first objective was Imdina. La Valette posted 2,300 men there.